Hello everyone, thanks for stopping by. My name is Jim Falk and I'm with trailgear.org. Today I'm going to show you my Easy Knot fishing tool. I designed and invented this little tool to aid me in tying fishing knots. This tool will tie one of the strongest knots around called a scaffold knot. And I will show you how this works in a moment. Basically the tool is, it's a 4-inch piece of lightweight plastic pipe, weighs almost nothing, has a few notches in the back end for your lure to connect to. It has a hole for a lanyard so you can tie a piece of cordage and hang it around your neck. On the other side it has a long slot for tying your, looping your line to tie your knot. And it also has a notch to hold the knot while you're tying the knot. The first version is a solid 4-inch piece of pipe. The other one is the same design, but it comes apart in 2 pieces, and on the inside I have a razor blade which allows you to cut your line after you've tied your knot. Both of these are high impact plastic, virtually indestructible, and the best part is if you were to drop these overboard, they float. Unlike other knot tying tools that are made out of metal that sink to the bottom, these will float on the surface and you can easily retrieve them. First I'm going to show you how to tie the scaffold knot by hand, then I'll show you how I use this tool to tie the scaffold knot and make your life a lot easier. Okay, for demonstration purposes, I've taken a piece of wire and I bent it to simulate a hook. To hand tie a scaffold knot, take your line, run it through the eyelet, make sure you have enough pulled through. Then you want to create a series of loops over the line. So you lay the line across the top, pass it underneath both lines, so you have your first loop like this. Then take the line and pass it over the top again and underneath both lines, so you have your second loop. Now each loop will go inside the previous loop closest, and you'll create the loops moving towards your hook. Third loop, I'm going to pass over the top, underneath both lines. So now you can see how you've got a series of loops here and each one is closer. Take your tag end and run it through all the loops, and then pull it gently so it snugs up, creating a perfect scaffold knot. It's a slip knot, so now you pull it down to the hook eyelet, snug it up, and trim the tag end. The scaffold knot, going by its name, is a knot that was used by executioners to hang people, and it's been around for centuries. Now I'm going to show you a super strong scaffold knot, doubling your line over, so it's twice the strength. Take your line and loop it over like this. Take the loop, push it through your eyelet of your hook, pull it through, now just like the single line knot, you take the double line, put it over the top, pass it under the bottom, put it over the top again, pass it under the bottom. So now you have 2 loops. Remember, each loop goes inside the previous one. Take the tag, push it through all the loops, and then snug it up. Slide it down, pull on the tag ends to tighten the knot. And that is a super strong scaffold knot, doubling the line over. I use this for when I'm fishing for very large species of fish like muskie, or if I'm fishing saltwater offshore, even large peacock bass. This is a super strong knot and it will never fail you. Two double looped over through the eyelet and then double wrapped. Now I'm going to show you, you can use the scaffold knot also to join two lines of similar size together. Take one line and take your second line, run them parallel to each other. Take the first line, wrap it over, under, over, under. I'm just going to do 2 loops on this one. Pass it through, tie it down. Same thing on the other side. Over, under, over, under. Pass it through. And then slide them both together. Kind of like a blood knot or the double uni knot. Then trim both of the tags. And that is a super strong knot for joining two lines of similar size together. Now I'm going to demonstrate how to use the Easy Knot tool to tie the scaffold knot. For demonstration purposes, I'm going to use a larger diameter pipe because it shows up better in camera, and it also works better with the very large diameter line that I'm using for demonstration purposes. But it's basically the same design as the smaller tube. It's got the long cutout for the aiding your tying your knot. It's got the notches on both sides. One side, this side here is for your hook, this side is for the line, and it's the same design as the small 4-inch pipe. So, to tie the single line scaffold knot, what you do is you take your hook and place it in the notch on the back, or if you're using like treble hooks, you're going to have probably a little bit harder time handling this because of the treble hooks. You don't want to hook them in your hands. So what you can do is you can take the hook and dangle it below the back notch like this. Here's the notch, here's where your line runs through, and you can hang the hook down below it. So that way it keeps treble hooks out of your hand while you're tying the knot. In this case, I'm going to use the notch to hold the hook. So take the hook, put it in the notch, strip off enough to tie the knot. Now, you take both lines, and you take your tag end, and you drop it into the front notch first, followed by the line to your fishing pole over the top. Now on the bottom there is a large gap, and I'll show you how that works in a second. Basically take your line and wrap it clockwise around the tool and do not overlap the lines. Tie each line inward one step at a time. In this case I'm just going to do 3 wraps. Now with the actual Easy Knot tool, for small diameter lines I've wrapped as much as 8 times, and for heavy thick diameter lines I've wrapped as minimal as 4 times. It all depends on the type of line, fishing line that you're using, on the type and number of wraps that you use. So I've wrapped it 3 times around, and as you can see, now turn it over and you've got the large gap here. This gap is to allow you to pass this line through to finish the knot. Now, since I started wrapping in a clockwise wrap, you want, in other words, the first wrap will go around on this side, and this is the side you will see how the line goes through and splits the tube. Now you want to take this tag end and push it through this side of the tube, because you started wrapping clockwise, so you want to push the line through the gap on the clockwise side. Do not push it through on this side. Do not push it through on this side. Push it through on that side. Pull a tag in, slide it off the end, pull gently, and you've got yourself your knot. Slide it down to the end of the hook, and you've got yourself a perfect scaffold knot. Then you just take the tag end and trim it close to the knot. Now I'm going to show you the super strong scaffold knot, doubling your line over like I showed you in the hand tying session earlier. Take your hook, place it in the back of the Easy Knot tool, take your line, double it over, and pull out enough so that you can tie an adequate knot. Take the looped end, push it through your eyelet. Now what you need to do is take the looped end and drop it down in the slot first, then your tag line and the line going to your fishing pole goes over and down the slot second. Take the double end loop line, wrap it as many times as you want around. Now in this case I'm only going to do it twice. Pinch the end to make it easier and tighter, and slide it through this side of the knot, that side, or on this side. Pull it, slide it off the end, and you have yourself a perfect double over knot. You can snug it up and slide it down to your knot. Like this, and you've got yourself a very, very super strong double over scaffold knot. As you can see, it has two loops through the eyelet, and then it's doubled over around the line. Now in this scenario you take your looped end, trim it off at the knot, and take your tag line and trim it off at the knot, leaving only the line going to your fishing pole. Now I'm going to show you how to use the Easy Knot to join two lines of similar diameter together. Take your first line, stretch it across the back of the Easy Knot, dropping each end into the notches. Then take your second line, drop it across both lines. Take the tag end, wrap it a few times around. In this case I'm just going to do two loops, make it easier and quick. Pass it through this side, pull it, and you've got one knot. Now take your line and flip it around and do the same thing on the other side. Appears I got a frog in my shed today. You can hear him in the background. Now this one, take your two lines, take your tag end, wrap it once, twice, pass it through, pull it off the end, tighten it, Slide both ends together, and you've got double scaffold knot joining two like diameter lines together, and then basically just trim the tag lines off, leaving the knot. Well, I'd like to thank you for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want more information about my Easy Knot tool that ties the super strong scaffold knot, stop by my website at trailgear.org. Have a good day.